Two judges ruled that the Trump administration must at least partially fund SNAP benefits, but people still may miss meals in the meantime, as that process could take a while. Joining me now for our morning roundup, podcast host Bill Nigut, columnist and author Michael Harriot, and Judge Ashley Wilcott. Welcome to you all. Bill, let me start with you. Day 33 of this shutdown. If it goes to Wednesday, it'll be the longest in U.S. history. SNAP benefits and people losing that support, is that something that could hasten an end to the shutdown?
Well, you'd like to think so, but we've seen no sign that Republicans are ready to go back to negotiate in Washington. They continue really to hold people who rely on food stamps, on SNAP benefits, they hold them hostage, saying it's up to the Democrats to make a deal to go ahead and vote for the continuing resolution as it is. So I don't see anything. Mike Johnson, another week they're not going to be in session in the House.
Now, Republicans would say it's Democrats who are holding those five votes, and they're the ones that are holding the country hostage.
Absolutely, and I'm not even trying to argue for which side is correct, just that what we're seeing now is complete stasis. Nobody seems to want to govern right now, and it's terribly troubling when millions of people are at risk of not having food.
Can I put a plug in for the judges then? Because the federal judges have stepped in too and have ordered them to pay it and said, listen, it doesn't mean, a shutdown doesn't mean there's no SNAP. That's not how it works. It means you have to find the funding, and that's the nature of the emergency funding that Congress has available. So at least they have said, whether or not Trump is going to follow these orders is a different issue, but at least the federal judges have said, no, you have to use emergency
the money
funding.
is there.
It's there.
I always feel like we're living in a bizarro world where, like what she just said, right? The judges, two judges have issued directives to Trump, and we're wondering, well, is the president going to follow the law that has been reiterated by these judges? And I also think it's important to remember that when Trump is out there partying in Mar-a-Lago, right, there are people starving, but that is a welfare party too. Those billionaires that attend that Great Gatsby party and are wearing their flappers, they're getting government assistance. That's why they're there in Mar-a-Lago, to get their form of welfare. So it's not just that they're withholding benefits from poor people, that they're withholding it while they're giving it to rich people.
You know, it's interesting that you bring up, because for people who don't know, there was a Halloween party at Mar-a-Lago that the president attended, Great Gatsby inspired, and this line sticks out. The theme is, quote, "A little party never killed nobody." And so you've got them dressed, of all themes at this moment, in the theme of the Great Gatsby. The picture you saw there was of the U.S. attorney there in D.C., Jeanine Pirro, the president you see, the Secretary of State. You've got performers there with feathers. The optics and the juxtaposition in any other time where you have federal workers in food lines and billionaires dancing on a Great Gatsby theme, Bill.
Yeah, it's pretty horrendous. I mean, you know, F. Scott Fitzgerald, the whole point of The Great Gatsby, the novel, was about the privileged class, the multi-millionaires, billionaires of the time, and how they took advantage of and abused those who were not in their same class. And, you know, the last line of Gatsby, not to get too literary on you, talks about boats beating backward into the past. And that's pretty representative of what I think so far the Trump administration is doing with the country, is turning us backward in so many areas.
That's not even to mention the Lincoln bathroom, as it's called, or the bathroom in the Lincoln bedroom. The remodeling that's happening, I mean, this was before. The president said that that wasn't reflective of Lincoln's time, although I don't know that there is a bathroom that would be in the White House reflective of the 1860s. But he's now made this change. Again, the optics. And is this a distraction? Because there was some people who say that you're paying attention to the wrong things. Is it a distraction, or is it the makings of a narrative?
I think it is the indicative of this kind of authoritarian takeover where he can do what he wants to do, right? Like, if there is a president who like what it's not can't be that bad for him to be partying at Mar-a-Lago when the world has seen him partying with Jeffrey Epstein, right? Like, who's going to take the mantle from Jeffrey Epstein but our president, right? And when you talk about the White House, like the idea that he is just I don't think people are understanding that no one is objecting to the White House being remodeled. I think when the White House is usually remodeled, Congress pays for it.
There's a process.
Right, there's a process.
Yeah.
And he's just saying, yeah, this is my house now, and let me tear out a bedroom and put in a party room. And I think that is the thing that people are objecting to.
Let's look ahead to Tuesday, because I want to make sure we get time in here of the elections coming, statewide races in New Jersey and Virginia, Prop 50 in California, the mayoral race in New York City. President Obama stopped short of endorsement of Zoran Mamdani. He has endorsed mayors in the past, but it doesn't happen often. What do you think informs that kind of holdback of saying, impressive to watch, call me if you need me, but not going as he goes further with others?
President Obama has made it quite clear in his most recent comments that he's frustrated with this split personality, I think, in the Democratic Party. Democrats don't know which way to turn. You've got a Mamdani, a Democratic socialist, who has an enormous following, has generated great energy around his race. You've got AOC thinking about maybe she'll run for president. And so there's that progressive wing of the party that's very excited about a new future for the party. And at the same time, you've got the Chuck Schumers and other more moderate Democrats who are scared to death of what the future portends. So I think Obama has finally said, somebody's got to jump in here and try to figure out the next steps for this party.
But yet he's not stepping in to say, I'm going to be the leader of it. He's saying, I'm going to step in to assist. But I think it still underscores they don't have a leader at this point.
Well, I think the other thing is that if you're a Democratic socialist, if you're Mamdani and you're a real progressive, do you want Obama endorsing you?
He's the biggest star in the party.
Right.
What do you think he wouldn't want?
Right. But
Obama?
if you are trying to say, I want to lead this party past this era where they're chasing moderate votes, that kind of Obama got him mired down into, because he was the symbol of progressivism, but he wasn't that progressive.
I got to take a little issue with you there. You just said it. Barack Obama is the most popular Democrat in the country and has been for a long time. When he says to Mamdani, I'll consult on your campaign, I'll help you, he may not be formally endorsing him, but he is certainly saying we can handle the Democratic Socialist as mayor of New York. I think it's a great attribute for Mamdani to have Obama talking about him positively.
Last 15.
And I think also we have to realize, too, that we keep ascribing what's going on in the most progressive city to the rest of the Democratic Party, and it's just a political talking point because the people of New York choose their mayor, and then it's not going to be happening in Waterloo, Iowa, what's going on in New York.
All right, pause. Everybody stand by. Up next, Queen of Christmas. She is officially declared. I can't hit the note, but it's time.
Tony